What is going on, everyone? The Ottawa Senators may never allow a goal again. This team is unbelievable in back-to-backs. We still got 5 more games left on the season, but they have now put themselves in a really interesting position with a 4-0 win against the Columbus Blue Jackets today. They took care of more business. Of course, they lose the game against Buffalo, but when their backs are against the wall and the pressure is on, they always, and not always, but they always live up to the hype. Hope you're all doing very well on this Sunday evening. It is 5 p.m. for me, so I got a little bit of my night left to go, and I'm just going to enjoy that because I'm going to be in a great mood for the next 24, 48 hours as we can kind of just relax for the most part. The Sens have not clinched the playoffs just yet, officially, but we have now, there is 2 teams in the standings that we will not have to worry about whatsoever. Not because of their losses, because one of them actually lost today, or that won today actually, in the New York Islanders. But the Sens have won their games. So, when you win your games, you are going to put yourself in a great position. And with 5 games left, it's been a grind. Definitely so. But this team has now, there's one more crucial game, if you want to call that, and that's on Tuesday against Columbus again. But man, Columbus, their luck and their hot streak, I think, has kind of run out, and it looks like it's going to be the Habs now. But Detroit has randomly emerged out of nowhere, so they could potentially be another player for that second wild card spot. Thing is that the Sens in the second wild card doesn't really need to be that much of a discussion for now, especially, I mean, the Habs are against the Nashville Predators right now, and last time I checked, they are down 1-0, so still possible that they come back, but I hope that, by Friday when we play the Habs, we will be clinching. I would hope so, but once, I'm just trying to track all of these teams here. If the Sens win on Tuesday, basically they're in. That's what it comes down to. If the Habs, lose today and then they lose their next game, I think, which is also on Tuesday, then we won't have to worry about anything in the playoffs or but the Habs catching us. But yeah, I'm super happy right now. This is unbelievable. I guess let's walk through the game a little bit here. The Sens obviously go 7-0 for a total score from this weekend. Obviously winning 3-0 yesterday against the Florida Panthers and then 4-0 against the Columbus Blue Jackets today. So once again, very similar to last game, a quick start in the first period and a quick goal from Adam Gaudette. D-to-D pass in the defensive zone. Jensen puts it over to Chabot. Chabot springs a nice pass to Gaudette, who goes one-on-one against Eric Gudbranson. I don't know if a lot of you remember the Eric Gudbranson experiment here in Ottawa. It did not go well. And Gaudette just kind of gets a free shot. Gudbranson, despite having, a 6'4" frame and being a defensive defenseman, he doesn't put any pressure on Gaudette. He kind of just gives him a free shot. And this is what we were kind of wondering heading into this game here tonight, is that Columbus played last night against Toronto. I think they also got shut out. Seems like they just kind of run out of gas. And the thing is, Sens played yesterday, but they played at home. So you'll take that, right? So that puts out the Sens 1-0. And then shortly after the first goal from Nicholas Matinpalo in front of the net. That's the last spot you would have thought. Matinpalo has been a solid addition to this team. Was called up midway through the season and replaced Travis Hamonic. And I really hope that they run with him in the playoffs. Hamonic's healthy right now, for all we know, and he hasn't played, I think, the last 5 games. So if they go back to Hamonic in the playoffs, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. I hope that does not be the case whatsoever. But Matin Paolo takes a pass in front of the net from, I think it was Claude Giroux at the point, and he's all alone. Adam Fantilli loses his man, and it's a little backdoor tap-in for the 6'3" defenseman who is 26 years of age. I really hope that they can just keep him in the lineup for the rest of the season and in the playoffs, because it's not about like Matt and Paolo like being better than Hamonic only, but that pair just works well together. And a lot of defensemen in the league, they need like at least 17 minutes of ice time to do well in the lineup. This pair does not. They can survive and they can do fine off of 14 minutes tonight, because that's what they played tonight. And they're not going to put up a ton of offense, but they're going to put up effective defensive performances, both of them in Clevin and Matt and Paolo. And when the games get tighter in the playoffs, having a 6'3" and 6'5" defenseman back there who have chemistry is going to do a lot of good for this team, genuinely. But yeah, he gets his first goal in his career. It's a great thing to see. His parents are actually in attendance right now. He's Finnish, of course, so they're making their way all the way from overseas. And the Ottawa Senators head into the first intermission with a 2-0 lead. So Columbus had a little bit of a late push there towards the end. But the Sens just hold on. They hold on. Linus Ullmark obviously starting in net tonight, so we'll see if he does start again on Tuesday. It's going to be interesting to see the split between starts down the last 5 games of the year. But the goaltending is the best it has ever been in a very, very long time. Probably go back to 2017, literally. Second period, there is a no scoring. The Sens actually kind of got outplayed a little bit. Columbus was pushing. They got some chances for sure. I think one shot from Werenski went off at the crossbar in the third period. So they did beat Ullmark. But you just had a feeling like it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work because when you combine the defensive performance with this team, they just work really well as a 5-man unit. And you have solid goaltending back there. It's basically unstoppable to get the puck past them, because everyone works really well together. And then when you have competent goaltending back there, oh my lord, we prayed for times like this in Sens land for the past, I don't know, like decade pretty much, right? Head into the third period, and Columbus is pushing. I think Werenski hit the crossbar at this point, and then David Perron cashes in front of the net. To go to the net, that is where you're going to score your goals. Batherson throws a puck on net, and then David Perron bats it in. I think it went off of his foot and then off of his stick, so no kicking motion. I thought maybe there was some goaltender interference there, but it was very minimal. And Columbus, you could maybe wonder if they thought about calling a coach's challenge there, but ultimately it did not happen. So the Sens go up 3-0, and then that's when you're like, okay, it's done. Because third period on a back-to-back for a team on travel in Columbus, that's so hard to do, to muster up any of that energy. And so the Sens take care of business, and they obviously the empty net goal from Shane Pinto. And they win 4-0. So back-to-back shutouts. Just an easy, nice little weekend, because I never had to pout. I never had to feel unconfident that this team wasn't going to get it done on the defensive side of the puck, because they simply just didn't allow a goal. And then you can also go back to Thursday. Let's lump in the Tampa Bay game here, where the Sens did win that game 2-1. 2-1. So 1 goal against in the past 3 games. I'm not expecting this team to do this in the playoffs, and it's funny how I'm saying, confirming that they're in the playoffs, basically, but it's true. The Rangers have to win out, and Detroit has to win out, pretty much. And the Habs also have to, win out, and then, yeah. So, there's probably a 1 in, 1,000 chance that the Sens miss the playoffs at the end of the day. If anyone has any comments, throw them in the chat or questions. I'm running solo again today. Unfortunately, we've kind of run into some scheduling issues here on Game Over, but I appreciate everyone tuning in as well. Honestly, that's kind of really all I can talk about the game. Tim Stützle please shoot the puck more. It's nice to see Zetterlund get on the board, obviously, with an assist. As long as he's putting up some points, I'm okay with it. Don't rush it. The organization of the team is fantastic right now. Lines 1 through 4. Like, you have Gaudette and you have Highmore on the fourth line, and Highmore, like, he gets ice time, but it's because the team is playing with the lead for most of the games now. So he can be trusted on the defensive side of the puck for sure. Gaudette, you obviously see his ice time goes down in the third period when we're trying to hold on to a lead, but he's sort of like the secret weapon, right? Because he has that goal scoring ability. And then Crookshank is like the Gaudette secondary, basically. He's a call-up, and there's no Brady Tkachuk on the lineup right now. And then you look at the third line. Like, they're playing so much on the ice. They're playing like 18, 19 minutes a night. They're arguably the first line right now, and they deserve it. Like, they do. You can't change my mind on that because they've been so good at just shutting teams down. And Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto have emerged as this, like, I call it the tertiary duo, because you have Stützle and Tkachuk on the first line, you have Dylan Cousins and Drake Batherson on the second line, and then you have Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto on the third line. So you have two guys there that have really emerged as, like, everyday NHLers, guys who could be trusted at both ends of the rink. And you saw in spurts over the past couple of years, Pinto kind of just came in immediately. Like, he never played an AHL game ever, right? But then he got injured for a full year. He was forced into a second-line role, well, last year, and also the year before that, because Norris was hurt. So he just wasn't in, like, a rhythm, basically. He was playing with bad defensive wingers in DeBrincat and Batherson. And then last year, he was actually very solid. I think he had 27 points in 41 games. So Pinto was very good last year and deserved that contract. And I'm wondering what he's going to get in an extension next summer or this summer, depending on how they're going to, decipher that. But whatever, let's not worry about that. And then Michael Amadio, right? The third addition, if you want to call it, to that line, is so good defensively. And, like, I remember last offseason when they added Tarasenko and they were playing him on the third line with, I think it was Greg and Joseph, and a $5 million winger who doesn't take draws, doesn't kill penalties, and is, I think he was 32 when he signed, so he's not young. And, he's never the fastest guy, too, so... And you see him performing right now in Detroit. He's kind of washed almost. He's on the back nine of his career, right? He's already got his 2 cups. So having Amadio there has just brought in a different element. And the thing about with Ridley Gregg, right, is that he can be a chippy player and he can be trying to get under the skin and be, like, emotional, if you want to call it, at times. Michael Amadio is the complete opposite. So if Ridley Gregg were to, and I'm not saying this is connected, but Ridley Gregg could go out there and he could try and get under the skin of the Columbus Blue Jackets this game with a 2-0 lead, potentially take a bad penalty, because we've seen that in the past over his career, not just with the Sens. But then you have Michael Amadio there, who just goes out and he does his work and he doesn't say a whole lot. Like, he's not a chirper on the ice. He's not a guy that's going to throw a huge hit. He's just a good skating two-way forward who has a really good stick and is such a valuable bottom 6 piece. Like, what an ad by Steve Stais to also get him for 2 more years at a pretty good cap hit, like under $3 million. That was a nice under the radar ad at the time, and now we're seeing the results right now. Fun fact from tonight's game, every single player was a +1. Every single one on the ice. Even like Crookshank, Gaudette, even those guys got a +1. So that was cool to see. And then you have your second line in Dylan Cousins, Drake Batherson, and David Perron, who got on the board tonight. That's your offensive line, basically. That's the line you start in the offensive zone for the most part, and they have this really good chemistry, and they're not afraid. They go towards the boards, like they battle every single game. There's talent obviously each round, or 2 to 3 players are a first round pick. Batherson was like an under the radar guy that kind of just emerged out of nowhere when he was drafted, and like every single player is not afraid to go along the boards, and their chemistry is new, so it's like kind of new and exciting, right? And I think they're probably going to keep that line going to the playoffs. We'll see if anything changes, but then obviously you have the Giroux, Stutzla, Zetterlund line, which is the line that hasn't, I guess, scored that much, but they got on the board tonight, right? Zetterlund and Giroux pick up an assist with the Matin Palo goal. So yeah, like every line contributed tonight, because the third line scored that 4-0 empty net goal, and then obviously like you look at the score sheet tonight, and you look at the ice time. All top 4D played between 21 and 23 minutes per night. That's awesome. That's great that you don't have to run Jake Sanderson into the ground and play him 27 minutes, because hey, like the team's done that before with Shabbat over all those years. And then you have the third pair that doesn't need 17 minutes or 18 minutes to, feel like they're putting their contributions in. They are just going out there and using their physicality, using their range as well too, to do a very good job in front of the nets. There was a couple times where they struggled to clear the puck, but especially like Matt and Paolo, I think, had a couple blunders there, but he is better than Hamonic at clearing it out, and they have better chemistry. So like, if you throw in Hamonic, right, you give take out Jensen, give him some rest because he's been through the ringer, or like Zub maybe, but Zub has been injured throughout the year, so I feel like he might be a little bit more fresh. Also, if they do clinch on Tuesday, which is very likely to happen, I would give one of Shabbat or Sanderson the game, get Gilbert in there just to, feel the puck and play an NHL hockey game. Because thing is about the playoffs is that you never know when one of your defensemen is going to go down. You need depth on D. You do, no matter what. And Gilbert is a competent guy by all standards. We don't really know a whole lot about him. I think he's played one game this year. So we'll see if he does get into any games down the stretch, because we have 5 games left, everyone. Just 5. Game 77 tonight. And it's crazy. We still haven't technically clinched and stuff. It takes a long time to actually clinch in the playoffs. It's funny. I was actually, last night, I was watching highlights of the 2017 run. Just trying to manifest the feeling again. And just the feeling in the building and seeing that crowd absolutely pumped up. I was also watching, all their 2017 goals, and seeing that was a Cinderella run at the end of the day, because there were so many times when our team was down and out, specifically in that Rangers series, that they managed and they came back. You also look at Game 2 against Boston, when they were down 3-1, and then they won, I think, 3 overtime games in the first round out of their 4 games of actually eligible to win. So yeah, that was a great run. There are some parallels between the 2017 team and here, but the thing is that on paper this team has more talent and there's more depth, I want to say, and more like high-end stars, if you want to call that. Like, you lump, if you look back on 2017, right, you had Erik Karlsson, like a top 3 player at that point, literally. Like Norris winner 2 times at that point, playing on one leg, point per game defenseman in the playoffs, back when scoring wasn't super high. And then you had your top forwards were Mark Stone, who wasn't even that good in the playoffs. He had 8 points in 19 games. You had Kyle Turris as your first line center. Mike Hoffman was like a good top 6 player, but he was like a 25 goal, 30 assist guy. Derek Brassard was not great. Bobby Ryan had like 30 points in 65 games. And then there was a bunch of that, like our depth was good, that's for sure. And then you had Craig Anderson, who is like the best goalie of Sens history. But now you look at the roster, like Linus Ullmark arguably is better than Anderson. Arguably, like I'm not saying he is, but there's an argument there because you look at his career. He's never had a season of under 900 save percentage. You have a legit top 4 that's like more well-rounded back compared to 2017, where Phaneuf and Ceci had a lot of the defensive responsibility, and fans were hard on them. And you know what? There was a reason to it, because Ceci after that really started to kind of go downhill. And then their forwards, like right now, you have 5 guys who are, what? Is it 5? No. I'll say 4 out of 6. 4 out of the top, no. Let's include Ridley Gregg and Shane Pinto here. 6 of your 9 forwards are 26 or younger. If you include the core pieces, right? You have Shane Pinto, 24. Ridley Gregg, 22. Dylan Cousins, 24. Drake Batherson, 26. Brady Tkachuk, 25. And Tim Stützle, 23. Like, there is a lot of time left to go to build with this core. You have Stützle, 6 more years left on this contract. Brady Tkachuk's got 3. Dylan Cousins, 5 more. Drake Batherson's got 2 left. So, yes, like, you got to re-sign him if you want to. Shane Pinto got 1 more year after this, but he's an RFA. And then Ridley Gregg has 4 more years after this one. So, as far as the pieces, they're in the lineup right now. As long as this team doesn't really run into cap trouble. I mean, hey, that Stützle contract is going to be insanely cheap with the cap going up. Shout out Pierre Dorian for doing that contract, because that's doing us a lot of wonders right now. I guess let's talk about the out-of-town scoreboard right now. I'm not sure if there is a couple updates in the Detroit game, because that game's probably coming to an end right now. Let's take a look here, because I want to talk about Florida really bad right now. So the Sabres are beating the Bruins 5-3 at the current moment. Okay, so the Canadiens have scored 2 goals. Okay, so the Canadiens are up 2-1 on the Predators. Cole Caulfield and Patrick Laine. That team is so resilient, like, my lord. And then Detroit beats the Panthers in regulation. Okay, so there's a conversation to be had that this team could, like the Sens, the Ottawa Senators, could grab a top 3 spot. There's a conversation there. Not saying it's going to happen, but the Panthers, they might want it to happen too. Because I don't know if you all saw their roster today. There is probably like 7 or 8 regulars in the lineup of a 20-man roster. Like, seriously. I think their top player was like Anton Lundell and Brad Marchand tonight. I think Forsling was also out, so there's probably like 2 of their starting 6 defensemen. It was unreal, and so they lost today against Detroit, who has sort of emerged in the standings, and it's possible, like, I mean, Montreal might win this game now, but Detroit now is, I want to check here. So Florida, let's start off with Florida, right? Florida Panthers have played 77 games in the regular season. They have 92 points. The Ottawa Senators have played 77 games. The Ottawa Senators have 90 points. So we are 2 points back. And I believe with tiebreakers that I'm just going to check here. The first tiebreaker is the greater number of games won, excluding games won in overtime or by shootout. So that is the regulation wins column, and the Florida Panthers have 2 more than the Sens. So if the Sens do tie it, then they still won't be in a top 3 spot. So the Sens will have 5 more games to, figure it out, because it's funny that Florida, it's like, what is going on there? Why are you dressing a very small amount of your roster? Do you want to play the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round? Is that why? So that's a bit odd. That is absolutely a bit odd. In terms of the Tampa Bay Lightning, we are 4 points back, but with one more game played. So I'm just naming out the stats right now. I'm not saying it's going to happen, obviously. And regulation wins. Tampa Bay has the tiebreaker. So even then, like, you would have to win 3 games, and then the Lightning would have to lose their next 6, which is very rare that going to happen. Florida, though, like, if we go 4-1, the Panthers, like, then that would give us 95 points. And the Panthers, let's say they go 2-1, then we get 3rd place. You know what I'm saying? Like, and down the stretch, I'm gonna have to check the Panthers' schedule here, but the Ottawa Senators, they play Columbus Tuesday. And right now, we're obviously riding high. We feel like we can beat anyone, because that's what happens when you're a fan and you go on winning streaks. They could beat Columbus. They just did it twice in a week. And then this time it'll be on the road, but this team's pretty good on the road still. And Columbus is kind of dejected now. Then they play the Montreal Canadiens, which, okay, that is the game that I'm like the worried about the most, funny enough, on Friday at home. And there might be a lot on the line there, because the Habs might be looking to clinch that night. So they're going to come out with full force, definitely. There's going to be some interesting questions with Tkachuk as well, because I didn't even mention him in the lineup. In the lineup organization. We're going to see which players are going to sit. It's going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, then after that we play Philly, and then Chicago, and then Carolina. The last 4 games, we have 4 at home and 1 on the road. That's the thing. Like, this team is 24-11-2 at home. Like, we could easily grab 2 or 3 of those 4 wins. And then, let's say we grab 3 of those 4, that puts us up to 96 points. The Panthers, I'm going to check, because they only have 1 more game on the road, and then they'll have 4 at home, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I'm going to check their schedule here real quick as we head into the final parts of the cast here, as I'm kind of rambling. So yeah, the Maple Leafs actually play the Panthers on Tuesday. That is going to be a huge game. At least looks like the Leafs are going to win the division, right? And then the Leafs actually play Tampa Bay the next day. Then the Panthers play Detroit at home. Okay, interesting. On Thursday. On Friday, the Panthers will not be playing. On Saturday, the Panthers will be playing the Buffalo Sabres. Okay, so a lot of Atlantic teams here. Checking on Sunday here, I don't think the Panthers are playing that game. That is next Sunday. Monday night, the Panthers are playing the New York Rangers at home. So, not a super hard schedule. There's some key games there between the Leafs, and then they play the Lightning on the final game of the season. That could be huge too. That could be massive. Because if the Panthers go on a little bit of a winning streak, that final game could come down to home ice advantage, right? So, let's say hypothetically the Sens do grab a top 3 spot in the playoffs. They pass the Panthers. Then you probably have to go up against the Lightning, I think. I don't know if I really like that, to be honest. But thing is, if you somehow get through that first round, and let's say the Panthers beat the Leafs, then you get home ice advantage. That's what I was thinking about. Not getting too ahead of myself, obviously, because these things are still hypothetical. But this team's making the playoffs regardless. So you consider the season a success. We'll see where it goes forward. Because I'm like dying waiting for the next game in 48 hours from now. I really am. I'm really looking forward to the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on the road, which will be the final road game of the season. And hopefully we can end the season, over 500 on the road, because I think we are something like, I just want to check. It's something like 19-19-1, I think, or 2. Yeah. So 19-19-2 on the season. That was a huge box to tick too this year, is get a decent road record, because we knew this team was going on home ice. The CFTC has always been a very supportive building. Now let's enjoy the moment, Sens fans. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I feel like my record is maybe 5-0 on solo casts, and I feel like I've talked about many shutouts as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets for the final road game